What's going on, guys? Sticks here with the Token Minorities, bringing you the battle for Week 1 of Season 7 of the PPL, and this week we are up against Shuckleking and his Philadelphia Absol. And before I get into the team, just a reminder that if you guys like this video, please leave a like, drop a comment, click that subscribe button, it helps us out a ton, and let's do more cool stuff for you guys. And do not forget to check out Shuckleking's channel, that will be linked in the description below. And then one final thing, big shout outs to Danza, who recorded my game for this week. Again, he always goes above and beyond to make sure that the videos, even though I'm not able to record them myself, which would give the highest quality, he still does what he can to give me the best quality of recording possible. So thank you so much to Danza, and yeah, let's just go ahead and jump right into it. I mean, if you guys don't know what the team is, first of all, it's on the side of the screen, but my draft is Mega Gallade, Garchomp, Greninja, Zapdos, Metagross, Amoonguss, Buzzwole, Diancie, and Swampert. This is only a 10-person league, and so we got all some pretty busted drafts, and I have Garchomp and Diancie as my Z users, where we're allowed to use every Z move. And then Shuckleking's team is Landorus T, Weavile, Ferrothorn, Infernape, Toxapex, Mega Manectric, Audino, Latios, Rhyperior, and Bronzor, with Landorus T and Rhyperior being his Z users. And before I get into anything, I just want to give gigantic props to Shuckleking. So, Landorus T is almost unanimously one of the best mons in the entire format. Like, talk to almost anybody that knows the draft format and they will say that Landorus T is, they'll almost all say that Landorus T is top 5, but it's also a difficult mon to draft around because it's a low speed tier, so you need speed control to go with it, but at the same time you also don't want to force it into the role of being defensive or being the rocker or anything like that. Basically, you want to give Landorus T the ability to run all of those different sets so that it isn't landlocked into any set in particular. I really love Shuckleking's draft, to say the least. I think it's a draft that really shows like how to draft around Landorus T, just because, I mean, you have things that can be physical walls in Ferrothorn and Toxapex. You have other rockers in Ferrothorn, Infernape, Rhyperior. Like, you have other Scarfers and speed control with Weavile, Infernape, Mega Manectric, Latios. Like, it's just, Landorus T can do any number of things on that team. And so I really love the Landorus T draft that he has, so big shout outs to him. But unfortunately, that means it's going to be a pain in the butt for us to build around. That being said, I do like the team that I have built for this week and think that it can go pretty well. So I'm going to actually continue what I did, or what I'm doing in the UBL, with the shorter team builders, just really quick on through. Basically, my strategy is to hazard stack him and win with Mega Gallade or my Greninja in the late game. So first things first, my Mega Gallade is going to be a sub 3 attack set. It started off as a sub bulk up set, but I found that I really didn't have any chances to bulk up, and I did just like having Ice Punch for the ability to one-shot Landorus and then also hit Latios even harder than Drain Punch or Zen Headbutts. That's ultimately what I decided to go with. The speed is enough speed to creep Infernape, creeping Garchomp. Going a little bit risky, but that's so I can have a little bit extra HP for my subs, just in case there's random investments here and there on stuff that normally shouldn't break my subs. I have 220 attack, which is just enough to one-hit KO an offensive Landorus, so 0 investment Landorus that comes in after I'm intimidated. So if Gallade is in and Landorus comes in as I set up a sub, I will be able to KO it with Ice Punch if it is offensive. And then just Ice Punch, Drain Punch, and Zen Headbutt, good neutral coverage against his team, and also, you know, super effective coverage as well, and in addition to hitting very hard. Next up, we have a Greninja with Spikes, U-Turn, Water Shuriken, and Taunt with the Mystic Water. And this might seem weird considering that I'm running what looks to be a support Greninja, but with max special attack and Mystic Water, this is really just for revenge killing, specifically the Landorus. So Landorus is a gigantic threat, and having only one switch into it is not nearly enough. Greninja and Zapdos, you'll see how Zapdos is my check to Landorus in a bit, but yeah, Greninja plus Zapdos is going to be my way of checking the Landorus, making sure that it doesn't get out of hand and absolutely sweep me. And then also just Mystic Water, Water Shuriken is good for picking off weakened threats like Weavile, Infernape, Mega Manectric, and Latios to a lesser extent, but let's be real, I'm just going to be U-turning out on that thing anyway. The spikes and taunt are to wear down his team and then also to shut down the Toxapex, because Toxapex is very annoying for me to have to deal with, but if it's taunted, I can use it as spike setup with Greninja. I can use it as a sub fodder for my Gallade, so yeah, Greninja baits it out. I can either U-turn or I can get up a spike and just be in a great position. The speed is enough to guaranteed outspeed Latios, and then just max out the special attack, max out my HP, or throw the rest into HP and then balance it with defense and special defense. I could have put one more in attack, but I opted for a naive nature, just because it would allow me to hit Latios just a tiny bit harder with U-turn, and in the couple mocks that I did, that extra damage came through very clutch. So yeah, that's why I decided on Naive as opposed to Timid on the Greninja. Next up, we have a Charty Berry Zapdos with Hidden Power, Ice, Volt Switch, Roost, and Heat Wave, and honestly, an offensive Zapdos does work against his team. He really has no switch-ins. Like, Latios does not like taking HP Ice. Like, it can come in, but it doesn't like taking it. The Zapdos can come in on both Toxapex and Ferrothorn. It can wall, well, quote-unquote wall Landorus T, but Landorus can hit very hard in the right situation. Weavile and Manectric are annoying, but, like, basically Zapdos is just difficult for him to deal with if it is offensive. HP Ice is obviously for the Landorus, and this is my first Landorus, wow. This is my initial Landorus switch-in, as I do have Charty Berry and HP Ice. That way, if he Rock Polishes up, even a Continental Crush will not be able to knock me out after Rocks, and HP Ice demolishes it back. Volt Switch is for momentum. If I'm in on like a Toxapex or something, I don't think he'll go straight into Landorus T. It's just a nice way to get momentum while hitting pretty hard. Roost, obvious reasons, just be able to take hits a little bit better. And then Heat Wave for the Ferrothorn. Maybe if I think he's going to try to be cheeky and switch in the Mega Manectric on an electric move, then I can just go for Heat Wave and hit that thing harder. Not amazingly hard, but still hard enough. The speed is enough to guaranteed outspeed Landorus T, just, again, HP Ice. And then the investment in HP and defense is just enough to like maximize my defensive bulk while still having a little bit in HP and also hitting a nice HP number so Stealth Rock doesn't do as much. So just give Zapdos a little bit more defense while still having some in HP. Next up, we do have my Latios switch-in a Citrus Berry, Bullet Punch, Zen Headbutt, Meteor Mash, and Hammer Arm Metagross, with, obviously, the Citrus Berry, like I said. A Citrus Berry, Metagross carries Citrus Berry. Who would have thunk it? But really, this is just my way of switching into Latios, because Latios has fun against my team, unfortunately. I mean, I don't want to risk Diancie against Latios, because I obviously need Diancie for the Weavile, so I don't want that chip down. So Metagross isn't a super reliable, like, it's not going to switch in all the time throughout the game, but it's a good initial switch in, and then it really, really pressures his team, especially because his Intimidators cannot intimidate me thanks to Clear Body. I will be able to Meteor Mash, Zen Headbutt, Hammer Arm, just cover his team very well, and basically just almost pick up a KO when I'm in with a beneficial matchup, just because his team hates Metagross. Attack-invested Metagross does a ton of damage to his team. Bullet Punch gives me some very nice priority, especially for picking off Weavile, because, I mean, if Weavile goes for knockoff, Metagross is dead, but Bullet Punch can take it out from a pretty high amount of health, while still having almost zero done to me with Ice Shard, so very cool right there. Zen Headbutt I opted for over Earthquake. Shoutouts to, I believe it was Psychedelic Scizor who pointed this out to me, that Zen Headbutt was just better for the Toxapex. I mean, I had Earthquake for like the Toxapex and Mega Manectric, but Zen Headbutt does a crap load to Mega Main anyway, and Zen Headbutt is just a more reliable way of dealing with Toxapex. And then the Hammer Arm for the Ferrothorn, because otherwise it would wall Metagross. This way I can kind of just be like, okay, well, can't quite 2-hit KO a defensive variant, but I'll at least make you think twice about trying to switch into my Metagross. The speed is just a general speed creep. The special defense is enough to avoid a 2-hit KO from Scarf, or basically non-boosting item, Latios Shadow Ball after Rocks and my Citrus Berry, and then I have the defense to avoid a 1-hit KO from max invested Jolly Landorus Earthquake after Stealth Rock. So that's what the investment is there for. The rest I just threw into attack and had to add him in nature, because let's hit some stuff hard. Next up, we have my Weavile answer in a Normalium Z Heal Bell, Stealth Rock, Moonblast, HP Fire, Deancey, and Moonblast is great against his team. Obviously not the attack specs of the Ferrothorn, but that's where HP Fire and Stealth Rock come in. I mean, obviously I can't do anything to Toxapex, but Greninja does exploit the absolute crap out of that thing. So yeah, Toxapex is very exploitable on my team. That's why Deancey doesn't really have to worry about dealing with it. I'm speeding up a little bit because I realized I talked for way too long, so my apologies there. But yeah, Z Heal Bell, that way I don't have to worry about getting knocked off and losing my recovery. Z Heal Bell gives me a chance to get way back up to full, and also deal with things like Rogue, Scald Burns, or Toxics from like Toxapex or a Thunder Wave from a Ferrothorn, just really annoying rogue statuses like that. Moonblast covers his team, hits it plenty hard. HP Fire makes Ferrothorn not just be able to come in for free against the Deancey. The defense is enough to avoid a 2-hit KO from Banded Weavile Icicle Crash after rocks. I mean, admittedly, Iron Tail absolutely blows this thing away, but I'm thinking that he might not necessarily bring Iron Tail because Weavile really has 4 move slot syndrome against me with this team, so that's just kind of what I'm hoping for, and then threw the rest into Spadef because why the heck not. Finally, we have another pseudo Lottie check with my Swampert, and admittedly this can't do anything to Lottie, but I mean maybe with Roar and Scald it can get some like chip damage. Just basically it's a, okay, Latios, you're getting out of hand, I don't want you sweeping me. With Roar, Scald, Earthquake, and Protect, just dual stab covers his team nicely. Maybe I can spread some burns. Earthquake does nice stuff to his team. Protect scouts for grass coverage. Roar just roars things out, shuffles his Pokemon, and especially with the hazards that I have on my team, it can get additional damage for putting things in range of Mega Gallade and my Greninja. The Spadef is enough to guarantee to avoid a 2-hit KO from Life Orb, Latios' Draco Meteor. Then the rest I just threw into defense. So basically Swampert is more of just a coverall for his team. It's just kind of like a, well, I mean, I don't have Swampert on here for anything specifically. It's just kind of a nice, okay, I don't want like Zapdos, Metagross, or Deancey directly switching into this thing, so Swampert's just kind of a nice, okay, here's what they're going to go for. I can Protect, I can Roar, I can do any number of things. Swampert is just able to take care of that. So yeah, that's a team, and without further ado, let's just go ahead and jump right on into the battle. Alrighty, here we are in the battle, and the first thing I'm noticing is that unfortunately he did not bring the Toxapex, and the rest of his team is not really stuff that Gallade can particularly easily set up a sub on, so unfortunately that won't come into play as much, but that's why I'm glad that I went for just a sub 3 attack set so that I can apply a little more offensive pressure without needing a sub. But also, I mean, he brought just basically a really what just looks like a good team. I mean, honestly, that could pass for an OU team, whereas mine definitely could not. But without further ado, let's just jump right on into it. So, seeing that my Deancey has a beneficial matchup against almost everything except for the Landorus, I mean, even against Ferrothorn, I can take one hit of whatever it wants to go for, and then at least get my rocks up, go for an HP Fire. But he does decide to lead with this Ferrothorn. I'm thinking, okay, this Ferrothorn's a little bit annoying for my Greninja. I'm just going to immediately try to weaken this thing with the Hidden Power Fire, as he might think we will just trade rocks turn 1. But he does have the Aqua Berry, and he goes for the Power Whip. Luckily for me, misses. Now that's, I'm not going to lie, that's pretty big. I mean, it sets a tone early and allows me to just get up my rocks now, knowing that there's no way Deancey is going to be going down in this coming turn, just because, I mean, first power-up missed, second power-up would not be able to knock me out, but Ferrothorn will get a Leech Seed on me, which means that, okay, even if I want to stay in and go for HP Fire, it's not going to be a 2-hit KO. Not worth it, in my opinion, so what I'm going to do, pull the switch into my Zapdos to threaten this thing out with Heat Wave. I mean, really, anything on his team that comes in on Heat Wave doesn't want to. I mean, Latios definitely could come in, and that's exactly what he does, but what Latios has to come in on is rocks and a Heat Wave. So, I mean, Latios is still getting chipped pretty nicely. I mean, that's still 25% damage on Latios coming off of a completely unboosted non-stab Heat Wave from Zapdos. So, I mean, I consider that a win, and especially because I do have a guaranteed switch into Latios in my Metagross, which I'm going to go into here, and he goes for the trick. Now, admittedly, I was kind of thinking, okay, this Latios is probably scarfed or it's probably choiced in some way. So I was thinking about going into my Diancie, which would completely ruin that, but unfortunately I just pulled the switch into Metagross. Couldn't pull the trigger in that regard, but now that he does have Latios in on Metagross, he goes into Ferrothorn, and Ferrothorn was so obvious. I'm going to make the aggressive play, go for Hammer Arm, and luckily for me, that is a 2-hit KO. Now, he does have stuff on his team that can switch in, but nothing wants to switch in on a Hammer Arm. I mean, even Lando will have to take rocks and Hammer Arm damage, whereas he will not be able to intimidate me. So fortunately, I am able to get rid of this Ferrothorn very, very early by predicting with Metagross, but now I have a Metagross that's at -2 speed and is locked into Hammer Arm, so I can't even go for Meteor Mash or anything like that. He goes into the Landorus, and I'm thinking, okay, it's very, very obvious that I'm going to switch out my Metagross right now, so I'm actually going to stay in and go for the Hammer Arm, seeing if he wanted to go for U-turn, try to take advantage of my switch, as nothing on his team would want to take the Hammer Arm, but unfortunately does just get rocks up as I'm able to get a little bit of chip Hammer Arm off on the Landorus, which, I mean, does about like 15%, which is good, not going to lie. I mean, that's still good damage, but now I'm like, okay, Metagross has no reason to stay in. I'm going to go into my Zapdos. Yeah, it has to take rocks, but if he wants to U-turn out, then good on him. But fortunately, he goes for the Earthquake, and now I'm just going to go for the Hidden Power Ice. I've been very aggressive up to this point. I mean, I Hammer Armed the Latios. I stayed in to Hammer Arm the Landorus, and because I played aggressive, he stays in with his Landorus, and I'm able to get the knockout with HPI. So my aggressive play early on is really, really coming in handy at this point. But now he goes into his Weavile. I'm like, well, that kind of sucks. I mean, I don't really have a switch, and I don't want Diancie to have to take two banded Icicle Crashes, as that could knock me out. So Metagross has served its purpose pretty much at this point. I'm just going to go into that, take whatever hit the Weavile wants to go for. If he goes for knockoff, that knocks me out. But he goes for Icicle Crash, and that isn't even a 2-hit KO. So actually, it is almost a 2-hit KO. Is it? I don't even know. But either way, Metagross is in. It can live another switch into Spikes and Rocks, so I am just going to go for the very safe Bullet Punch. I either knock out the Weavile or get good damage on something else. And it might seem like Metagross isn't doing a whole lot, but it is chipping his team very, very nicely. Infernape comes in, takes about 25% combined from Rocks and Bullet Punch, so that is phenomenal. But now knowing that Metagross can live a Rocks and Spikes switch in one more time, I'm going to save the Bullet Punch in the back for later and go into my Swampert on this Infernape, as Swampert really doesn't... I mean, it's just kind of an overall pivot, like I said, in the team builder. It's not there for any specific reason. It's just kind of there to scout out what type of sets he wants to bring. So now that Swampert is in on Infernape, he goes for Fire Blast. I'm like, okay, this is special. He can knock me out with a Grass Knot, but at this point, I'm just going to go for a safe Scald. If he goes for Grass Knot, knocks me out, cool. I have a switch into my Greninja, but if he goes into Latios like he does, I get to chip it down. Yeah, it puts it in Citrus range, but I also have the chance of the burn, which I do get, so that is beautiful. Beautiful for me, because Latios now no longer has the Citrus Berry. I'm going to be able to keep wearing it down, and now with the burn, I can just protect on my Swampert, which I'm going to do this coming turn, in order to just rack up the damage a little bit more. Scout out what moves Latios has, what it wants to go for, and then react accordingly. Goes for Energy Ball. That's kind of unfortunate that he is carrying the Energy Ball, but at this point, it's like, well, okay, what do I not need anymore? I'm thinking at this point that Zapdos is pretty much the weakest link, because doesn't outspeed Infernape, doesn't outspeed Weavile. I mean, Zapdos has already eliminated Landorus T as a threat, which is really all I wanted from it at this point. So I'm just going to go into Zapdos, take the Energy Ball. He will be able to knock me out with a follow-up, Draco Meteor or whatever, but at least I made him reveal 3 of his 4 moves. I mean, obviously there's Trick, there's Energy Ball, then he has to go for Psychic in order to knock me out, and I'm assuming this last move is Draco Meteor. So what I'm going to do now is go into my Greninja, and while I won't be able to take out the Latios with a U-turn, I'll at least be able to put it low to where I can just go sack off Swampert, because I didn't want to risk the Speed Tie with Mega Glade. Metagross wouldn't knock it out. I still want the Bullet Punch in the back for later, so I'm just going to go for that U-turn to get momentum, wear Latios down, as he actually goes into the Weavile, and I am able to knock that thing out with a U-turn. So that was kind of the best turn possible for me in that situation, because now Latios has to come back in on Rocks, which puts itself in range of U-turn from my Greninja. So that just kind of worked out wonderfully for me, as I am going to go to my Metagross. I'm just kind of resigned myself to the fact that I'm going to Bullet Punch something, and maybe I can take out this Latios and force Manectric or Infernape to come in. So I'm going to go for that Bullet Punch, and as you will see, it unfortunately just misses out on the KO to where Burn won't even be able to take it out. But the thing is, the fact that Burn won't be able to take it out is a blessing in disguise, because now Latios is going to go down to Burn this coming turn. Like, that's just a foregone conclusion. What I can do is go into my Diancie, fire off my Z Heal Bell, which will go off after he attacks me, and then considering this is a trick set, I'm not thinking he has Roost or Recover, so I will be able to get my Diancie back up to full health while he goes down to Burn, meaning that, okay, Infernape or Manectric has to come in, and I'm going to get heavy, heavy Moonblast damage off on either of those. Just basically put myself in an amazing position, because if Infernape comes in, then I will be able to just Moonblast that thing down, and if he knocks me out, well, then I can just go into Gallade and hopefully set up on whatever move he has potentially locked himself into. If he goes into Manectric, well, Manectric cannot KO me, so I will be able to get Moonblast chip damage on that thing as well, as he goes to his Infernape and reveals the HP Steal. And suddenly it became abundantly clear why he did not stay in on my Swampert earlier. So, a little bit unfortunate right there. I am able to get the Moonblast damage off. Puts the Infernape guaranteed in range of Water Shuriken, if not Rocks. Well, no, yeah. I mean, it's not going to put it in range of Rocks. It's going to put it in range of Water Shuriken later, but he goes into his Manectric, and this was a big, big turn for me, because I was like, holy crap, now Manectric is chipped as well. That's amazing for me, because even though Diancie's going to get knocked out here, now Manectric is potentially in range of 3 Water Shuriken hits. And at the very least, if it comes back in on Rocks later, it's going to be in range of 2. So this is amazing for me, because Diancie is going to go down right here as he reveals the HP Grass, and it was just kind of a, well, crap. Now Manectric has HP Grass, which means that Swampert can't take it out. But what this does do is force him into a checkmate position, because I'm going to go into my Gallade. I will be able to live any one hit this Manectric goes for. Even a crit Thunderbolt will not be able to take me out, I'm pretty sure, because of the investment and also Gallade's natural bulk. So what he has to do, he either has to T-Bolt me, at which point I KO the Manectric and Greninja's just going to be able to win the game guaranteed, or I'll be able to knock out the Infernape as Manectric Volt switches, which he does do, and will have to come back in on Rocks. So either way, I'm going to have the game on lock. It's just a matter of whether or not it's a 2-0 or a 3-0. He does make the good play, saves differential, goes for Volt Switch onto my Gallade, sacks off his Infernape, but now that Manectric is coming back in, I do have a guaranteed win with Greninja. And I know you guys might be thinking, why didn't you just go Greninja if 3 hits were pretty much guaranteed to knock him out at that point? Well, after what happened with Greninja on this past weekend, and additionally with TTM's luck with multi-hit moves, I was not risking that at all. I knew if I had gone Greninja right then, I would have gotten 2 hits, and that would have caused me to potentially lose the game, and I ain't about that life. I will always sacrifice differential if it means getting the guaranteed win. I mean, unless I'm in a situation where, like, I have to have a certain differential to make playoffs, then obviously I will go for that. But in early season, mid-season, really just 99% of the time, I will get the guaranteed win as opposed to the extra differential. So yeah, that's going to be the game. We are able to take our first win of the PPL Season 2-0 against a very, very good player in Shuckleking. Please check out his channel in the link below. And I hope you guys enjoyed watching. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And this is Styx signing out. Why not? See you guys.